Will that make it into the first part of the Quackcast that I put in? Will I cut out that?
Oh my god, no. Come on.
Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 607. I am Ozone Ocean, and with me is Tanserine and Baines.
Hello.
Hello.
They always pause, so I'm not sure whether they're alive or dead.
Is the season.
And you'll have to check out our Patreon video, which we will make available for everyone. It should have been made available to patrons on Halloween, and everyone else can see it when this Quackcast comes out, hopefully. So you can see our great outfits that we are still wearing, even now, at the moment. Although you miss out on Tanta's lovely background of skulls, which he has just put up. Well, yes, we went to a lot of effort, and even Baines is in the video.
Apologies.
Imagine that.
Yes. That's something special. You don't get to see that very often. And I am Death, and Tanserine is one of the fates, which is the English way of saying the Greek demigoddess.
The English say it Moire, which is really not the Greek way of pronouncing it. It's Mire.
Mira.
So,
Okay. And in the Norse version will be Skuld, I think. Skuld.
I think so, but I'm not sure at all.
Well, and so you'll be able to see our great costumes if you look at the video. And I hope you like them. And we just talk about our costumes and explain them, because we put in a lot of effort to get dressed up and have a little show, as we'd like to do every Halloween. So, and this year we're talking about technology and horror films, or technology and horror, basically. That's going to be the topic of this particular Quackcast. But before we get into that, we'll have to bring up the featured comic. And the featured comic this week was another Halloween thing. This was Joanna Ghost Hunter. So I'm going to be telling you about Joanna Ghost Hunter now. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Joanna Ghost Hunter. Joanna is starting up her career as a paranormal vlogger, investigating interesting and disturbing cases and mysteries. Are these things actually ghosts and spirits? Or are they something else entirely? Just how do you control a dangerous poltergeist? She and her good friend Phil are both trans and going through things in their own ways, but they support each other. This is an anthro-paranormal comedy drama. The art features soft colours and a calming visual style. The writing is by Zar Paulus, and the art is by Thaiger. It's rated T for teen. Have a look. There aren't many pages yet, but it's moving along at a quick pace. It's quite a fun, short, interesting read. So I think there's something there for everyone. It's an enjoyable comic. It's sort of, I would say, maybe a bit slice of life in style, but it has a story that's sort of based on its own version of our reality, but with anthro characters, as anthro comics are. They're also known as furry comics, because the characters normally have fur. But, it's not strictly that different from a comic with characters who are human. They just happen to look like anthropomorphic creatures. Anyway, I hope you will enjoy Joanna Ghost Hunter. It's a fun, funny, cool comic. Rated T for teen. And that was the featured comic, Joanna Ghost Hunter. So next up we have the featured music from Gun Wallace, and the featured music this week was Game punks, a hyperspeed punkish howling grind plowing into bedrock, ripping through concrete, burning through the forests and drilling through time, raw, rocky, hard, and gritty. Take it away, Gumulus, with the theme to Game Punks. Theme to Game Punks, which is a comic by Troy V.S. and it's rated T. Thank you so much for that, Gumulus. Okay, now back to the cast. Okay, so we're talking about technology in horror because it's Halloween, so this theme kind of fits for us. Baines came up with this news post for Thursday with this great picture of poor old Patrick Stewart playing his character Jean-Luc Picard as Locutus, with the Borg Queen who turned him into
one of the three fates that Tans is dressed as was Locutus.
Turned him into a horrible machine, and it's like body horror. It was especially in the actual Star Trek The Next Generation series, that was really extreme body horror because it's taking over your body and robbing you of your humanity and turning you into something else. And that was very effective, I found, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, it's a terrifying idea, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just ripping your body away from you and everything that makes you, like an invasive mechanical parasite. It's horrific.
Yeah.
So that really harmed him for the rest of the series, and they really did play off that, didn't they? Because that was such a big thing, and it was very effective.
And in the one movie, it was they amped up the like that movie was sort of half kind of darker and scarier and half lighter. But the scary parts kind of really amped up that idea of they're an alien species and a technological threat, but it's like kind of like zombies as well, where they like are altering people, and they really played up that kind of zombie horror type of fear.
First Contact was an excellent.
Yes, yeah, First Contact, yeah,
excellent
good
film.
stuff.
Even had William Shatner in it, I think, didn't it?
No.
Different. No, that was the next one afterwards.
It was the one before, but it doesn't matter. It's not about Star Trek all the time, just most of the time.
But technology and horror, and Star Trek had a bit of technology and horror because, like just speaking generally, because it's sci-fi and there's horror in it, which, But parasites was the thing. I remember early on in the series, they had this thing where these parasites would invade people and control them and make them do, change their personalities. And that was quite horrific.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole of the Federation was being like invaded by these horrible bug parasites, and one got into this guy and took over his entire body, and then I think they shot him, and his body blew up, and there was a huge bug inside him. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Thing, that movie, The Thing, right? It was that type of storyline and
Yeah.
or like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of idea.
It was, yeah. They stole it from there.
Yeah, that show did a lot of horror plots actually.
Sci-fi and horror. It's a classic mix.
Yeah, it is. It's a good mix.
So
the idea of my news post was that like technology is can be a handy gateway to scary things. You know, it can open up new territories if you just like faster than light travel, so you can explore the galaxy, like in Star Trek or whatever, or Alien. You know, so like you go out there and what do you find? It could be anything.
Anything, yeah.
Awful.
Alien is a great example, which spawned a whole lot of things, but Alien was a piece of art. So Ridley Scott came up with this brilliant, terrifying creatures, in this movie. But of course, it was created by the excellent Geiger, H.R. Geiger, and his bizarre imagination to do these creatures that were completely based on human anatomy in various ways, and his obsession with the female genitalia and things, which also created the look of these horrific creatures, and male genitalia as well. He's the king of genitalia. He really was. But even though they look so alien, more alien than anything that had really come before in film, they're completely based on humans in every way. Everything about them is based on humans. You know, the head that's so elongated is there's just a human skull in there. You know, the body is all based on spines. The snatcher, the thing that whatever it is that goes onto your face, the face hugger, like its legs are just human fingers, and its little ovipositor mouth is just a vagina, and the tail is a spinal cord. It's just incredible. So yeah, they're horrific because, you know, they're aliens and they're unknowable and they're bizarre. Their technology is so just horrifically disgusting, but it's just, yeah, all based on human bodies. So you've got...
Right.
Is that a thing as well? So most of this technology and horror has a lot of body horror in it. Like you mentioned The Thing. Then again is body horror. The Star Trek one, body horror. Alien, body horror. Especially, you know, the face huggers and the thing that explodes from the stomach. The chest burster.
Mm-hmm.
All body horror. It's interesting. Maybe that's a good thing. Because I was thinking as well, Screamers, which is a great low budget horror film based on a short story by I can't remember, some famous one of the famous sci-fi writers. And in that one, that's again a body horror.
You know,
I'll go on, Tance.
The Fly.
Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Well, Cronenberg's a master of body horror in every single way. And The Fly, yeah, that's disgusting. The man, Cronenberg didn't come up with that, but he did do a version that was very, very effective with Jeff Goldblum.
I think it's inspired from something that was also inspired from a short story, something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Right.
the original's this black and white film that's quite affecting in its own way. But Cronenberg was a master of body horror. He still is. And technology, and that's what he does. If you've seen Existenz is the body horror version of The Matrix, basically. So you go into kind of the different like realities and levels and stuff like that, but it's all based on body horror.
What's the movie? I just watched it for the first time recently, and I'm blanking on the title. I think it's a little more obscure, but it's got the little kids in the snowsuits who are killing people. This isn't familiar to you, and it ends up being a body horror. And like for most of the movie, it's like, what the hell is going on? Like, what's happening in this movie? What's the secret of what's going on? And This isn't familiar. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on
If
what it's
if
called.
Pitface was here, she would know right away.
He would probably know it. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. I'm not really up with my horror films, unfortunately. Kids in snowsuits killing people. That does not sound familiar. Is it new?
Kid in a red snowsuit. I just tried googling it. Like kid in The Brood. It's called The Brood.
Oh, okay. That sounds like that's a really old 70s horror film called The Brood. Maybe it's based on that.
I think it's a 70s thing. Yeah. But it's good. I don't know if I'd call it technological horror. It's definitely a body horror. Like The Fly is both, right? It's body horror. It's kind of predicated on this technology.
I suppose, and I
Scanners.
deeply apologize.
Another one.
I deeply apologize for bringing it up, but you could say that it's body horror and technology / science, the human centipede. I apologize, but yeah.
Oh God. Yes.
Okay, but it's true. These, that kind of awfulness. I've heard of it. I'll never watch it. Never will.
I haven't watched it. I have seen reviews of it, and I think that's where I draw the line. Like, I don't watch. I will never watch it.
It's interesting because it's one of those films that you would think, oh, this is just an urban myth, and people would dare other people to watch it, but it is a real film. But the rest of the ones in the series, I think there's like 4 or something, are basically they're not just straight sequels. They're sort of based on the fact that it is that kind of a film that people watch as a dare. So they're films about the film, as well as being about a sequel to it. So I think one of them is based on the idea of people watching the film and thinking it's not real. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's very meta, but yeah, I've read about them but not watched them. So not my thing either.
I would urge people just to not watch it, because supposedly it's like the creator, whoever it was, I don't remember, claims that it's a very deep film, but it's just there to be horrific and up the shock value, and just it's the type of horror that it's horrific because it is super disgusting and appalling.
What are those films?
Which is the type of horror I personally hate. But,
Yeah, that's not my. Yeah, I don't really like it either. Yeah, I like a little restraint.
Yeah.
I've heard that movie actually doesn't show. I don't know, but this is what I've heard, that it's actually not that graphic. The first movie, it's the idea that's horrifying, but they don't really show.
They show it. At least the reviews said that they actually show.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't want to watch it anyway. It's I don't want to.
Well, let's not get any more airtime. What are some others that aren't so?
Yeah.
Horrific.
The Thing. We mentioned that, didn't we?
The Thing. The Thing is amazing. So that's based on the short story Who Goes There, and there had been a bunch of other films, at least 1 or 2, based on the same idea. So there's just people, stuck out in an Arctic research station in Antarctica or the North Pole or something like that. Either one, it works. And they're isolated. And then this weird alien creature invades and, takes over people, and you don't know who's infected. It's a marvelous piece of paranoia, which makes you so scared because you don't know who's who and who's real, who's a simulacrum of a real person. So
yeah,
it's so effective. But the John Carpenter version with Kurt Russell, I think it's 1982, 1983. The effects are simply amazing. Like you have heads walking around on human fingers. oh my god, it's
Yeah.
just beyond. And it's very few things have ever matched that for the level of that kind of alien horror. It's just so effective.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an example of a horror film where, because the effects were so good, you could show and people wouldn't go, there's the monster, it's not as effective anymore. That was really the beginning of when you could really show a monster and it would be even more horrific.
Yeah, and it could kind of be anything. Like the Thing in that movie didn't even have a natural shape that we knew of. It was just sort of a combination of beings it was taken over and had taken over in the past. And so it was just there are just some incredible effects in that movie.
And I think it worked really well in the sense that because it is invisible and you can't really sort of have it tangibly, like deal with it in a tangible manner as well, that makes it more scary, like scarier. And
Oh yeah,
I don't know if that would qualify, but have you seen, it's an old movie, The Abyss?
yeah, I saw it. I don't remember it very well, but
I don't remember it as much either, but I do remember that it had that sort of plot in the sense that uh, the abyss, the creature that was in the abyss, brought out everyone's worst impulsive self, which was lethal, of course.
yeah,
So this
that
was
can be.
this was a Cameron film. What was his name? Something Cameron.
James Cameron.
James Cameron. So he's a pioneer of a few different kind of technological horror films. So we've got Terminator. Oh, Aliens. So he did the sequel to Alien, which was just awesome, and it sort of took things in a new direction. So now you're not facing one alien, but you're facing a whole army of the bloody things all over the place, and they're just unstoppable, and they can change form and they can do all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so that was just amazing. And then he did Terminator 1, where it's this unstoppable killing machine in the form of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's not friendly like in Terminator 2, where he's like, he's everybody's friend. In Terminator 1, he was just a beast that just kept coming and coming and coming, and there's no way to stop him. You could blow his face off and, shoot him with shotguns and stuff like that, and he would still come, run a truck over him, and he'd still come. So he was horrible. And then, The Abyss, he did that, which is taking things to an even, a different level. So, yeah, Cameron is an interesting guy in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did Terminator 2, which was sort of took the horror in a new direction with the T-1000, isn't it, Tance?
And I think that it remains like at the top, the scariest robot ever. Like that's the one, the T-1000.
Yeah, it's
because it was what the Terminator was before, times 100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's not just
villain. Yeah, I mean, just that brilliant idea, the liquid metal.
not just relentless, but implacable, unstoppable. It can be anyone. It can just take the form of anyone or anything. Its arms become blades. It's, oh my god, that guy was. Every time you just look at that actor who played the policeman version of the.
You still think of the T-1000, yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's
and
scary.
It's even more effective in the series because you go into the second movie having the experience of the original Terminator being terrible, basically. And now it is the obsolete model.
Yeah.
And that makes it makes the T-1000 even more terrifying because, oh my God, like the previous menace is now outclassed in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This huge, muscled monster, which is, just a shiny chrome skeleton inside this human body. This flesh that's wrapped around him, which was, so terrifying and unstoppable, is now nothing compared to this liquid metal creature that can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, another James Cameron masterpiece.
Oh, it's a great one. Yeah.
And goes to show how hard it is to top. Like no other robot in this series is as terrifying.
No.
So
No, I never bothered watching any of them after Terminator 2.
Well, me
I
neither.
watched them, but they all blur into one, which again is telling.
I haven't even watched the most recent one with the return of the original actors Schwarzenegger and
That I haven't watched. Mainly because I
lady.
don't have access and I can't be bothered to get access, so I haven't watched.
Well, this isn't the Terminator cast, so let's continue with the horror. Well, Maximum Overdrive, of course. We could bring the Stephen King hilarious movie about lawnmowers coming alive and running over people and eating them up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Green Goblin looking trucks, or one of them. That was the leader. He's got a big Green Goblin face.
Yeah.
That was a little scary. The truck.
I remember liking it as a kid, and I tried to watch it again later in life, but I couldn't even finish it. It was so silly.
Unfortunately, I saw it as an adult, and
Yeah,
I just found it very funny. I also was semi-drunk when I saw it, so it was funnier.
It's a good film to watch
that
drunk.
probably helped a little. Yeah.
Well, it was the perfect film to watch with friends while being slightly drunk, though.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
nothing
awesome.
to take too seriously, just to sort of laugh with and laugh at.
It's very These all the technology has been taken over by some malevolent spirit or whatever, and it's all after people, and it makes no frickin' sense. And yeah, it's very, very silly. But Baines, you said "Who Made Who"? The AC/DC song was written for that movie. You serious?
Yeah, that song was written for the movie. Yeah, AC/DC and Stephen King have a bit of a partnership here and there.
That's incredible. That's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and they put out an album. I think "Who Made Who" was their biggest selling album. It had some songs from other albums on it. And
I loved that back when I was a kid.
oh, sure. Yeah,
Who
me too.
made who? I never realized it was for that. Well, okay.
Like, we created you. Doesn't someone scream that in Maximum Overdrive? We created you.
I cannot remember.
That's kind of one of the ideas of technological horror, I guess, is that we went into forbidden areas of knowledge, or we created this stuff, and then, whoops, look what we created. Now it's become too advanced, or it's turning on us, or something.
Well, then
plenty of Terminator type shows, like episodes of anthologies with the robot lover who becomes insanely obsessive or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, that's quite a popular one.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was the other big Stephen King technology horror was Lawnmower Man, which was piggybacking on the fad of virtual reality when that was really big, and everyone was doing virtual reality in everything, and it never really took off at that stage. But that was Stephen King's attempt at it.
Right.
It wasn't really that good. So he did a Flowers for Algernon in a kind of a horror, sci-fi kind of thing. So
Right.
do you know Flowers for Algernon?
Yes.
Yeah, the idea is that a person who isn't very intelligent gets made very intelligent and has a very different perspective on life. and then slowly loses that intelligence. And in Lawnmower Man, it's that, but he becomes an evil creature because he becomes incredibly powerful, incredibly intelligent. Sorry, Tance, what were you going to say?
No, I was sort of thinking it doesn't really fall under horror, but perhaps it should. How about the HAL 9000?
Oh, sure.
Because it is everywhere as well. And it's very
Oh,
impassive and
Hal from
2001.
2001. Yeah,
yeah.
that does. That's very scary because he absolutely controls everything about those people on the space station.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing they can do about it. And he's not meant to be aware and alive. And then he suddenly becomes aware, and that's
I can't
terrifying.
do that.
It's terrifying, yeah.
That's
Like
terrifying.
All this power, but no humanity to it. Yeah, that's like very creepy.
Yeah,
Very
that's absolutely horrific. Yeah, there's not much compares to that, and that's been taken off many, 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 many times. Very influential. Famous Stanley Kubrick film. Stanley Kubrick, of course, a master of different kinds of horror, but not much technological horror apart from that film, as far as I know.
No, I think that would be the only one.
Oh, definitely. Well, I was thinking of a space-based horror because so now we've got 2001: A Space Odyssey. Then there was Black Hole. If you've ever seen this, this was a Disney film, and it was meant to be a really big budget film at the time. You know, like I think it's from like 1981 or something, or 1980. So this is where a bunch of people, they're all like space travelers. They come across this gigantic ship that's been lost, and they decide to board it to see what happens. And it's just balanced on the edge of an event horizon for a black hole. And there's only the captain of the ship, and he's got no crew left. And they try and, find out the mystery of, what happened to the rest of his crew and what's he doing here alone on this giant ship. And they eventually find out that he killed all the crew and turned them into robots to serve him. And the master of all the robot servants is this huge red robot called Maximilian, with his 4 arms and all these blades and stuff like that, and he's very scary. And a lot of people think this film is silly, and a lot of people think this film is good. And I'm of the crowd that I think it's rather good, because Maximilian is it's a terrifying monster, because these crew who had turned into robots, they have that idea of lost humanity, that they used to be human and now they're just mindless zombies who had been turned into automatons. And in the end of the film, they actually fall into the black hole, and you see Maximilian like he's like ruling over some hell or something, and you see human eyes inside this hidden human mask of this head that he's got. And you don't know whether he's, gleeful or he's like in terrible pain. It's very affecting. So, yeah, Black Hole's a good one. And that naturally leads us into the other big black hole based thing, Event Horizon.
Oh my god.
And that's another haunted spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
bunch of crew people all together come across the event horizon, and this is a haunted spaceship. So basically, it's a haunted house movie in space. Would you say that?
Yeah, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes something like in concept, it becomes like this kind of Lovecraftian thing in a way, right? Like, or sort of a universe that is hell, basically, right? When I first saw it, it terrified me. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and when I saw it years later, I was like, oh, it's not that good. But
I remember being pissed off at it for some reason. I don't remember it intimidating me, but it really irritated me. Like I was genuinely, for some reason, immediately angry at it. Uh, oh my god, and I couldn't really place it, but it felt like it was tiptoeing around what it wanted to say, but it wasn't quite saying it. And there was all this imagery that they threw at you
Mm.
for shock value, I would say, and uh, I don't know.
Well, that's a
Even
good point.
now, I feel a bit angry at it.
Yeah, it's a haunted house in space, but it never really gets to the point of why it's a haunted house in space. There's
Exactly.
this is what happened. Or the ship is being controlled by demons. It's being controlled by
Mhm.
demons from another universe. We don't know. It never tells us. It's just bad because it's bad. It was
It
made that
doesn't
way.
even it doesn't need necessarily to spell it out what it is, but you should sort of specify what is going on.
Mm.
You can't keep everything vague and expect this to be expected to land as a narrative. At least not that way.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, which reminds me of
Mm.
another one that is very techy and has tons of horrific imagery, and that is the cube.
I haven't really
Well, I haven't
seen
seen it.
that.
So I think it is called the cube. Let me Google it really quickly.
It is. It's called The Cube.
Okay, so this is about this um, serial killer that is in custody, and there is this, I think, some kind of cognitive psychologist or some kind of head specialist, like mind specialist, that
A
they have devised.
brainologist.
They have devised this elaborate machine that can get you into the person's subconscious and into the person's dreams and stuff like that. So um, the scientist goes into that. I don't remember. She was trying to find the solution to a mystery that is ongoing to save a woman from slowly dying.
Mm.
But then she gets captured by the serial killer in his own mind, and we see all sorts of very surreal, dreamlike imagery that is also super horrific. There is this very characteristic scene of a horse being sliced into many pieces, still alive, and it remains alive while it is sliced and stuff like that.
Oh God.
Yeah, I didn't like it personally. It's that type of movie that has fandom that really likes it and everybody else hates it. Um, yeah, but it is very techy. I mean, it is.
Mm.
You have to go into this machine, wear a very specific like bodysuit, and then be plugged in, so to speak, in order to be able to get into the other person's mind and stuff like that. So,
So it's really taking advantage of the premise to do the horror in that way. So that's a very clever thing. I was thinking of a film that is sci-fi horror but doesn't take advantage. What is it? I think there's one of the Friday the 13th films. Not Friday
Jason
the
Goes
13th,
to
the other
Space?
one. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yes, Jason Goes to Space. There we are. So we have Jason in space, and it's just the same old monster in space. So being, killing people on a space station, but not really taking advantage of the premise. It's just moving it to a different location, really. Whereas the cube that Tansa's talking about is really, cleverly uses the premise.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we talk about like Event Horizon, which is, as we say, just a haunted house in space, and that basically the only really kind of clever things that has is stealing from people's memories, which is, of course, that was done by Solaris. That's direct stealing from Solaris, and that's not even a horror film, so that's its one big trick. Haunted by your own
technology, like to play with people's memories and with the perception of reality using, we touched on virtual reality, and we can talk about like holograms and the, technological alteration of like memory and identity and stuff. That's sort of an area of techno horror. Scary thought,
And that's very effective. Yeah, changing people's memories. Oh, that's incredibly scary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
like its own had multiple episodes using that, right? Like, so the character would be in some bizarre situation, and it would turn out to be this. Oh, you're an astronaut, and you're in an experimental simulation.
Well, that's an aspect of what was some Total Recall.
Yeah.
That's more an action film than anything else, but that's still an aspect of horror in there.
Sure.
Yeah, because it plays with your identity. Like, are you still the same person if you don't have your memories?
Yeah, which is an awesome sci-fi theme. Can be a horror. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the film Existenz, I said that's like the horror, body horror version of The Matrix. That still plays with memories and perception as well, because you don't know what is reality and how to get back to reality. So, yeah, that's always a very effective kind of use of sci-fi to sort of take the horror to the next step. Not just body horror, but your mind and who you are. It's very effective. So what's the other aspect of, sci-fi horror isn't just, being scary. It's looking cool, isn't it? Because you get to use a whole lot of fun things, like robots and stuff like that. So Terminator did this well. A Hardware, that's one that, really does that well. That's the one where the skull is painted up with the American flag. In that one, I think the person finds a piece of like an old military robot and brings it home. And she's an artist and she paints it up like to be a cool kind of anti-war kind of thing. To look like, just a really effective piece of art. And then it comes alive and it starts killing people. But it's a cool looking kind of thing. Saturn V, I think, I'm not sure. This was a Harvey Keitel film where he takes over. He kills the person who's meant to come to this space station, remote space station, and he has this enormous robot with him. And he goes psycho and tries to kill the people on this station, and the robot's pretty cool and funky looking. So yeah, that's another good kind of funky, cool looking horror sci-fi. What about you guys? Can you think of any cool sci-fi horror films?
Not really. Not right now, at least.
Nothing's popping into my mind particularly.
Yeah.
Ah, you.
It's strange, yeah.
Well,
Are
we've
you the
worked through
same
quite a
Bane
few
that
of
we
them.
know, or no? Has someone taken something from you?
That's what I was thinking. He's the body snatcher Banes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the real. Maybe he's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I have to get a sample of your blood, Banes, and stick it with a red hot wire and see what happens.
I recall vaguely this horror movie that there was this computer virus that somehow managed to kill people by because they would see the screen of the computer or something like that, and the only one immune to it for like 60% of the movie was a blind person that had no screen to look at, and then eventually the virus mutates into killing him through the keyboard and stuff. But that's the only thing I
Uh,
remember. It was a long
Should
time
use
ago.
sound. Oh, that reminds me of the fantastic film The Day of the Triffids. Well, not film, but fantastic book series, but The Day of the
Yeah.
Triffids by John Wyndham.
But
Where
that
you
is with
have,
plants, isn't it? Triffids.
but it's technology based because they're a bioweapon
Ah, okay.
and they've been created, and they're in everyone's garden, and they tend these flowers and they grow up in these beautiful kind of weird exotic plants, and then some kind of accident happens. Everyone looks up in the sky and sees all these bright lights because it's a meteor shower or something, and maybe it was a Russian weapon that misfired. No one knows. And the next day, everyone's blind, and there's only a few people who can see. And the triffids, these huge exotic plants, they pull themselves out of the ground and start walking around the streets and killing people. And no one can see them, and they start feasting on these people. So yeah, that's a good one.
wow.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this horror Halloween Quackcast. I've been Ozone Ocean. I've been Death. How about you guys?
And I'm Tangerine, but I have also been one of the fates today, the one that deals death.
And I'm a robot alien who's masquerading as Banes.
That's why you were so enormous in that mask.
Yep.
Okay. Goodbye, people. We'll talk again
Bye-bye.
next week.
Bye-bye.
Check out the video. It's free for you all. You lucky, lucky people. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dreamers.